Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be a true crime video. We're going to talk about different celebrities who were murdered by their own fans. I think this is such an interesting topic. It's super sad and really scary. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I think we're going to start off with probably the most famous story regarding a fan killing their favorite celebrity, and that is all about Selena Quintanilla. Selena was a famous musician from Texas, and still to this day, her music is loved throughout the world. So in 1991, a woman named Yolanda Saldivar started a fan club for Selena after seeing her in concert. She gained the permission of Selena's father, Abraham, and thus the fan club was created and grew over 1,500 people that just loved Selena. So the relationship between the Quintanillas and Yolanda really strengthened at this point. Yolanda was actually promoted to manage Selena's boutiques for her clothing line, and she also began controlling Selena's business checking accounts. Yolanda just felt too close for comfort for someone who was a huge fan enough to literally start a fan club, because she had a key to Selena's house. It seemed like their lives were very much intertwining. Although Selena herself was very open and welcoming to Yolanda, the people around Selena and that were close to her started to see some red flags with some of Yolanda's behavior. Yolanda's apartment was essentially a shrine to Selena. This lady was absolutely obsessed with her, and again, I feel like that's never good to be that close for comfort. Apparently, Yolanda became incredibly obsessed and overprotective of Selena, and it just rubbed people around Selena the wrong way. One of the designers of Selena's clothing line, Martin Gomez, worked very closely with Yolanda. He ended up having to quit because of how frustrated he was with how possessive Yolanda was being over Selena. He said that she was basically impossible to work with. About 6 weeks before Selena died, Martin had a conversation with her, and he said, quote, "The last call I had with Selena, I told her to be careful. It was very weird. I was very afraid of Yolanda, but I never thought that she would hurt Selena, and I never thought that it would come to this." So the weeks leading up to Selena's death, her father, Abraham, was receiving a lot of messages about missed payments and people not getting their merch from the fan club after already paying, and it started to raise some red flags. So he did a little deep diving and was convinced that Yolanda was embezzling Selena's money. On March 9th of 1995, Abraham, Selena, and her sister Suzette confronted Yolanda and accused her of stealing money from the boutiques and the fan club. Abraham fired Yolanda on the spot, although Selena did still keep in contact with her because Yolanda had access to certain paperwork that Selena needed. Selena was asking Yolanda multiple times for these, paperwork, financial documents that she needed, and Yolanda put it off for weeks until March 31st of 1995, when Yolanda asked Selena to meet her at a Days Inn in Corpus Christi, Texas, to give her the financial documents. At the Days Inn, Yolanda gave Selena the financial documents, and as Selena was leaving, Yolanda pulled out a gun and shot Selena in the shoulder. Selena actually had ran to the lobby. After she was shot, she was literally running and screaming, and she was able to tell the lobby that it was Yolanda who shot her before she collapsed. She was rushed to the hospital, and that's where she was sadly pronounced dead due to blood loss and a cardiac arrest during emergency surgery. During the entire time that Selena was at the hospital, Yolanda was in a standoff with police at the scene of the crime. She had locked herself in her car, threatening to shoot herself. She was locked in her car for hours. Yolanda ended up being charged with first-degree murder, and she was put on trial, with her main defense being that she accidentally shot the gun. Though we definitely know that that's not true, just to logically, but also according to eyewitness statements. When Selena was running to the lobby after being shot, Yolanda was still pointing the gun at her and calling her a bitch. Yolanda was found guilty, and she's been serving her sentence at the Mountain View unit at a women's prison in Gatesville, Texas. What's freaking nuts is that she's actually eligible for parole on March 30th of 2025. I'm pretty sure this lady is going to have to completely change her identity and how she looks, everything, because if not, I would imagine Selena fans are going to come after her. I just think this story is so sad and so scary as well. It breaks my heart that Selena was nice enough, and the Quintanilla family in general were nice enough to really open their door to a stranger who was just a huge super fan, give her a job, a career, and yet she still stole money and killed Selena. It's just horrible and so sad. The next celebrity death that we're going to be talking about is John Lennon. We've talked about John Lennon's death quite a few times in more of a conspiracy sense. At the end of the day, he technically was murdered by a fan. So on the evening of December 8th, 1980, famous singer John Lennon was shot and killed in the archway of the Dakota, his apartment building in New York City. He was murdered by a man named Mark David Chapman, who claimed to be a huge Beatles fan. But he also said that he was jealous of how rich John was, so that is why he killed him, and he wanted to be famous. He also was apparently such a big fan, but then when John Lennon made a comment about how the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, he decided that that meant he should kill him. Do you know, like, just really quick, the logic behind that is crazy. Like, imagine being like, oh my god, like, he said something terrible about Jesus, I love Jesus, so I'm going to do something that certainly the Bible says is not great, and murder someone. Like, that's fucking bonkers. But, like, besides the point. Like, just stop listening to his music, bro. Like, whatever. Anyway, sorry. Mark David Chapman actually planned the killing over several months. Earlier that night, he was waiting outside of John Lennon's apartment, and he actually received a signature from John on the Double Fantasy album, and he literally met him. Like, he was actually a super fan. But later that night, when John and his wife Yoko Ono returned to the Dakota, Mark was still waiting at the entrance, and he fired 5 bullets, 4 of which hit John Lennon in the back. He was rushed to the hospital and obviously pronounced dead. Again, we've talked about the theory a lot that John Lennon was actually murdered by the US government because the US government wanted him out. They tried to have him deported several times because he was spreading peace movement, anti-war propaganda, and that was like not what the president wanted at the time, so people think that they had someone kill him. I would love to know what you think. Do you think it was the Illuminati / government or just a deranged fan? I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I'm still not sure. The next celebrity, this story is so terrifying. I can't even imagine, but it is the case of Rebecca Schaefer. She was an American actress and model who was most famous for the role of Patty Russell on the CBS comedy My Sister Sam in 1986. Right before her death, it seemed like Rebecca's acting career had really only just begun. Sadly, on July 18th of 1989, Rebecca was shot and killed by 19-year-old fan Robert John Bardo in her home in West Hollywood. Something that's really terrifying to me is that Robert was stalking Rebecca for 3 years before he killed her. He would continuously write her fan mail all of the time, and actually at one point Rebecca had responded to the fan mail. I'm assuming it was like one of the earlier ones. She got fan mail, so she sent back like a letter and an autographed photo, and I feel like this probably fueled his obsession and it got dark. In 1987, Robert traveled to Los Angeles hoping to meet Rebecca on the set of My Sister Sam. But of course, the security guards at Warner Brothers Studio turned him away. He returned a month later, armed with a knife and still trying to meet Rebecca. And again, the security guards took care of it and got him away from the set. In 1989, Robert was watching scenes from the class struggle in Beverly Hills, where Rebecca apparently appeared in bed with another actor. This scene completely enraged him so much out of jealousy, and he said that he needed to punish Rebecca for, quote, becoming another Hollywood whore. So Robert ended up hiring a private investigator to find Rebecca's address. He also had his brother help him obtain a handgun, and he traveled all the way to LA to knock on Rebecca's door. Rebecca answered her door because she was actually expecting a script because she was auditioning for The Godfather 3, but when she opened the door, Robert showed her the letter that she had wrote him and the autographed picture, and they had a short conversation, but ultimately they ended the conversation with Rebecca telling Robert to not come to her house again. So Robert left and went to a nearby diner and had breakfast, and then he returned to Rebecca's house an hour later. When Rebecca opened the door, according to Robert, she had a cold look on her face, so he pulled out the gun and shot her in the chest. As he remembers, Rebecca fell to the ground just screaming, "Why?" Rebecca was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center but was pronounced dead 30 minutes upon arrival. One thing that came out of this that I think is really important is that as a result of her death, the DMV actually changed the laws about releasing personal information. The Driver's Privacy Protection Act prevents the DMV from releasing private addresses, and that was enacted in 1994 as a result of this case. Also helped prompt the 1990 passing of America's first anti-stalking laws. So I do think that Rebecca's story ended up saving probably a lot of celebrities with these new laws enacted. It is so sad and so freaking scary to imagine, like, having a stalker is like one of the most terrifying things on the planet. Oh my god, I just like can't believe that stuff like this happens. It's just literally heartbreaking and really terrifying. Next case we're going to be talking about is the death of Christina Grimmie. I think that the death of Christina Grimmie was one of like the scariest deaths that I remember, like, in my lifetime. It was just so tragic. And if you didn't know, before Christina Grimmie was on The Voice, she actually was a YouTuber. Like, everyone loved her. Everyone knew who she was. I would watch her videos all of the time. And again, she was just widely loved by the YouTube community. On June 10th of 2016, after a concert in Orlando at the Plaza Live, Christina held a meet and greet for her fans. One fan named Kevin James Lobel had been obsessed with Christina to an completely unhealthy extent. He completely falsified a reality where he thought that him and Christina were going to date and get married and fall in love, and it was scary. He would pretty much spend all of his time watching her videos just over and over again, and this obsessive behavior did spark red flags around like his family members and friends, but no one did anything about it. For the concert, he actually took really drastic measures to try to improve his appearance in hopes to capture Christina's attention. He lost nearly 50 pounds, he underwent LASIK eye surgery, got his teeth whitened, and even got hair implants, and according to those around him, he did this because he wanted Christina to fall in love with him. When it was his turn to meet Christina, she opened her arms to give him a hug, and he shot and killed her. Christina's brother, Marcus Grimmie, was literally so brave, like such a hero. He tackled this man during the struggle. Kevin shot and killed himself as well. No one knew whether or not it was Kevin's intentions to kill himself. Opinions on it are pretty varied, but it is important to know, I think, that he actually had transportation back from the concert, like, booked and ready to go. And I feel like those arrangements, like, why would he make them if he knew he wasn't going to go home? I don't know. It was so heroic that Marcus Grimmie stepped in like this, and he potentially saved the lives of hundreds of fans. I can't even imagine how scary this would be. I can't imagine how traumatic that would be as well for like the people who saw that happen. Obviously, since Kevin is dead, we will never know what his true like motives are. If he was so obsessed with her and in love with her, I don't understand the thought process behind everything, but it is a horrendous tragedy either way. I really think it highlights like the parasocial side of relationships with social media people and celebrities, but I think social media has like more access than celebrities do. Like, obviously, if your favorite celebrity is Jennifer Lawrence, like, you don't hear directly back from her, you don't watch her daily life. But there are vloggers on YouTube who vlog every single day. You know exactly what they're doing. You, at that point, feel like you know them. And I think that is a very dangerous thing when fallen into the wrong hands. And even kind of in general, creates this relationship and bond with this social media influencer that just does not exist. Goes into even like responding to comments, liking Instagram posts, like XYZ. You feel like you know this person, but at the end of the day, the person doesn't know you. I just think that that can get extremely scary. Aspects about like social media and how accessible these people are to their fans. I think that it's like definitely something like if I was a daily vlogger, I would be thinking about, because like I feel like you share so much of your life. I've seen people go up to different like YouTubers and such who daily vlog, and it seems like you know them. Like they, like the fan will like feel like they know them because they do. They know so much about your life. But at the end of the day, it can be sometimes creepy. The influencer slash celebrity doesn't know you back. I just think this was one of the most terrifying cases ever. Definitely like changed the YouTube space, I would say, like a lot. Next case that we're going to be talking about is about Dimebag Darrell. Darrell Lance Abbott was best known for his stage name Dimebag Darrell, and he was an American musician who was the guitarist for the heavy metal bands Pantera and Damageplan, both of which he co-founded with his brother Vinnie Paul. He is considered to be one of the greatest metal guitarists of all time. Pantera was formed in 1981 with Vinnie Paul, Dimebag Darrell, Terry Glaze, Tommy Bradford, and Donnie Hart. The band ultimately ended up splitting up in the early 2000s, and the Abbott brothers decided to form another band called Damageplan. On December 8th of 2004, Damageplan was performing at the Alla Rosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. It was during their first song that a deranged fan, Nathan Gale, rushed onto stage and yelled while reportedly shouting, "You broke up Pantera," and then he shot Daryl in the head. This killed him at only 38 years old, which is just heartbreaking. Nathan Gale's former friend Jeremy Bray said that he used to write down Pantera lyrics and try to pass them off as his own, saying that they were his songs and that Pantera stole them from him, and that he was going to sue them. Nathan was clearly very unwell and apparently super hardcore into Pantera, and the band's breakup completely set him over the edge. Anytime anything happens, like at a concert, you all go there expecting to have a great time, and something like this can happen. It's terrifying. All right, the last celebrity we're going to be talking about is Andres Escobar. So Andres Escobar was a professional Colombian footballer, and during the 1994 FIFA World Cup, Andres accidentally scored a goal into his own net, which made the United States take a 1-0 lead, and the game ended up with the US winning 2-1. This was like the turning point, and Colombia ended up being like defeated from the World Cup, and so Colombia fans were obviously upset, but no one could have predicted what happened next. On the evening of July 1st of 1994, just 5 days after the elimination of Colombia from the World Cup, Andres decided to go to a local club called El Indio with his friends, but they ended up splitting up, and at around 3 a.m. Andres was sitting alone in his car outside of the nightclub. Suddenly, his car was surrounded by 3 men who were screaming at him. Then they took out handguns and shot him 6 times. It was reported that the killer was shouting "goal" after each shot. The group drove away in a pickup truck and left Andres there to bleed to death. Many people widely believe the reason that he was murdered was because he indirectly caused Colombia to be disqualified from the World Cup. The most insane thing that I have ever heard. If you're a sports fan, please don't take this the wrong way, but you guys kind of scare me. One of my friends really is into sports, and I joked with him, like, being like, no one knew who Travis Kelce was until he dated Taylor Swift. And he gets like genuinely mad at it. Next night, police actually arrested a man named Humberto Castro Munez, who was a bodyguard and a driver for the Gallon brothers, who were apparently a pair of powerful criminals and drug traffickers in Colombia. Police ended up coming up with the theory that Humberto was the one to actually shoot the gun, but that he was hired by the Gallon brothers to kill Andres. And it was all reportedly due to the Gallon brothers losing large sums of money for betting on Colombia's matches in the World Cup. That Humberto was ordered by the Gallon brothers to murder Andres in retaliation for scoring his own goal. Humberto was sentenced to 43 years in prison, but wound up only serving 11 due to good behavior. The Gallon brothers, who had very high places political connections, did a couple months in jail each for trying to cover up the murder, but again, they ultimately never could really arrest the Gallon brothers for murder or conspiracy or anything like that, which is unfortunate, but it was probably because they had people in high places. That is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about all of these cases. They're all so devastating and really, really scary, and can't even imagine how horrible that must be for like their families and friends. That is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.